Almost a year has gone by since Alan Gross moved to Israel.
The real deal.
3 years have passed since his release from jail in Cuba.
For humanitarian reasons, U.S. citizen Alan Gross was also returned today to his country.
The U.S. aid contractor had been sentenced to 15 years in prison. His crime was bringing illegal technologies made in the USA into Cuba. Portable satellite internet systems, which he installed in homes of members of Cuba's Jewish community.
They charged me with being a threat to the integrity or territorial security of the Republic, and which is impossible because the government of Cuba has no integrity.
Bring Alan home! Bring Alan home!
In December of 2014, Alan Gross was released, ending 5 years of imprisonment, in which he lost 5 teeth and over 100 pounds due to malnutrition.
I have to say Chag Sameach and happy holiday season to all of you. Today is the first day of Hanukkah, and I guess so far it's the best Hanukkah that I'll be celebrating for a long time.
The deal was reached between the Obama administration and the Castros, both sides denying it was part of a prisoner swap, in which Cuban spies imprisoned in America were released in exchange for Gross.
And after years in prison, we are overjoyed that Alan Gross is back where he belongs. Welcome home, Alan. We're glad you're here.
2 years after returning to the United States, Alan Gross and his wife Judy immigrated to Israel.
So Baruch haba Yisrael, where the music is divine. And my wife and I finally agreed on what city to relocate in. When we finally agreed it would be Tel Aviv, boom, it happened. A lot of people who make Aliyah have all kinds of stories about this ministry and that ministry. And I didn't have any negative experience at all. It's all been positive. A very good friend of mine who made Aliyah 27 years ago said, Alan, gave me the best advice. He said, good. Don't look for logic in anything, and you'll be fine.
Life in Tel Aviv has been good to Gross, but he still keeps in mind the Cuban friends he made in the notorious Villa Marista for political prisoners.
My cellmates would have family visitation. Their families brought them food that they shared with me. They sustained me. Their families helped to sustain me for 5 years. You know, and these are people who have nothing, and yet whatever they're able to scrape together, they were willing to share it with me. That says something about the people of Cuba.
Cuba and Israel have had no official diplomatic ties since 1973. For Alan, it's Cuba's big loss.
When Castro wanted to become the president of the non-aligned nations, he broke ties with Israel. And he ejected Israel, broke diplomatic relations, and that's when Cuba's citrus crop failed.
As a victim of a communist regime, Gross is a man of interesting theories. He believes Israel's discarding of communist or socialist structures over the years has helped jumpstart the modern-day startup nation.
I never really saw socialism work. The idea of the kibbutz movement was out of necessity, that people needed to pool their resources and share their resources out of total necessity. When that was no longer necessary, and the breakup of the kibbutz movement, it encouraged and promoted people to be free-thinking.
Alan is not new in the region. In the early 90s, he worked improving the border crossings for the benefit of Israelis and Palestinians.
And I've been here maybe 50, 60 times, probably more, over the 40 years, working on Jewish projects, working on economic development projects, working in the West Bank, Jordan, Gaza, I need to do something more productive, and I'm seriously considering re-engaging in the crossing point issues. I don't see how there can be any kind of agreement, overall agreement, until some prerequisites are accomplished. And one of the prerequisites is to have an opportunity to develop a neighborly relationship by having good trade, by having good economic relations. And it makes sense because it benefits both economies. It benefits Israelis and it benefits Palestinians.
From chatting with Mr. Gross for a couple of hours at Jaffa Port, it seems like gratitude is the greatest lesson freedom has taught him.
You know, at this juncture, I used to take things for granted, and I don't take anything for granted now. Except I know that my cigar is going to be good, and my whiskey is going to be good, and my visits with my granddaughter are going to be great. It's beautiful here.
Daniel Campos, i24 News.